Hello, I'm Dr. Pierre Simon, and it's great being back with you. We've been talking about the Jezebel spirit and how it compares to modern-day narcissism and identifying the narcissists in your life, and hopefully this has been helpful for you. We've followed a lot of different areas in this topic. We're in the subject area of mind games presently, and we're nearing completion of that. But we've spoken of gaslighting, love bombing, hoovering, ghosting, tantrums, passive aggressiveness, feigning ignorance, lying, and today we're on that covering of all of those mind games, and that's mind control. Mind control is, I suppose you might say, has everything all kind of lumped into that. It's if we were to say a principality, like there's a principality over anger and hatred and all that, we call that bitterness, the principality of bitterness, where in the spiritual realm, the demonic or the fallen angels, you have generals, you have lieutenants and captains and all that, and the big generals are the principalities that cover the little ones underneath them and tell them what to do, basically. And so this is a big one, this mind control. It's what we might consider in a faith-based system of counseling a principality, where all these other mind games and tactics fall underneath that. And so mind control is big. And just as a quick reminder for you, we've been talking about the Jezebel narcissist, and in that continuum, that famous continuum that I bring up all the time, where you have mild to severe, and the severe is more the malignant narcissist, or here's the pure Jezebel over here in the severe range. And as it continues through this, you have some people with a few traits over here, but as it continues more towards the middle, you've got the more serious ones, those that do more damage, and those that are full-blown in that area of narcissism and malignancy, to where it's now antisocial personalities, sociopaths, psychopaths, till they finally get to this malignant area where anything goes, and you want to be very careful, but that's where the pure Jezebel is. So the Jezebel narcissist is a spiritual and intellectual condition. It's not just spiritual, although sometimes it can be. It's not just intellectual, although sometimes it can be. It's a combination of both as it progresses along, in which a person inflates their sense of self-importance, the need for excessive admiration. Now, that excessive admiration can be outward, or it can be a satisfaction from within, believing that they're admired, that they're special, that they're better than you are, better than everyone else. That self-importance and that need for excessive attention in one way or another. It could be positive attention, but it can also be negative attention. And admiration, entitlement, while displaying that lack of empathy for others, or lack of understanding, their inability to recognize you have needs just as they do, but they can't recognize it because their needs are far more important. And how dare you take needs from them, or think you have needs more than they do. And oh boy, you get into a relationship with someone like that, and it's mind controlling. Well, mind control, there is that particular game that incorporates the skillful use of all the tactics, all the mind games, and it can be very intricate as it develops. And over the years, they get better and better at it, of course. Now, we understand mind control as that principality, but mind control is also considered by different terms. For example, the most popular one is brainwashing. Brainwashing is a form of mind control. Menticide is another term that's used. Coercive persuasion. If you remember when we were talking about the power and control tactics of the narcissist in an earlier segment, one of the power and control tactics was coercion. Thought control is another term that's used. Thought reform, re-education. If you remember the Vietnam War and how after we pulled out of Vietnam, the communists came down and sent everyone to re-education camps where they had to be re-educated into the communist doctrine, into the socialist doctrine. And socialists tend to do that. However, they might not call it re-education camps in order to get you to cooperate. They'll just change the education system and start with the young in feeding them false information, changing history and so on to their liking. That's mind control. It's not truth, it's a lie, but they're feeding it, brainwashing those who are involved in it so that they can change their way of thinking. Brainwashing, mind control, and so on. So what's the definition of it? Well, there's probably a lot of definitions out there, but I settled on this definition that the idea that mind control is the idea that the human mind can be changed and or controlled by certain intellectual methods and reduce a person's ability, their skill, their aptitude to think critically and independently. Because in mind control, you don't want an independent thinker. You don't want someone to make decisions for themselves. You want someone to follow the line, follow what's been dictated, follow the person in charge or the group in charge on what they're saying, what they want you to do, how they want you to respond, and so on. It introduces new and unwanted thoughts and ideas into the mind of unwitting individuals. So most people don't really realize, I mean, you don't go to somebody and say, I want you to brainwash me, and that doesn't work that way. I want you to control my mind. It doesn't happen like that. But it changes your attitudes, it changes your values, it changes those beliefs that you have, those core beliefs within you. Subtly sometimes, but sometimes drastically, more harshly, in order to break you. And in breaking you, they've brainwashed you. A strategy that employs use of every power and control tactic and mind game in the skillful art. And I have to emphasize that it's not just a haphazard thing, it's a skillful art. It takes a lot of talent, a lot of effort, years of working out the details on something like that. It's an art form, and those that are really good at it can do it just like that. It just kind of comes natural to them. And you wonder, how do they have that ability? How can they do that? How did they learn that? Did they learn it from their parents? Did they learn it from someone else? Did they read about it? Did they study it? Many times it comes natural. Now, spiritually speaking, from a faith-based perspective, we do believe in spiritual things. So we believe in a spiritual world. We believe in God. We believe that God is in control of all things. And we also believe that there's an opposite, a force that rebels against God, and that is Satan, of course, Lucifer, the devil. Some might say different terms. I often say the evil one because I'd rather not even give him a name. But that evil one, he rebels against God, and so he goes against those things that are right and good and true. How is that? By feeding lies, by manipulating, and so on. So mind control. Adam and Eve, so subtly, so quickly, were turned from the truth, believing the lie, deceived to believe the lie, and so on. Now, you can read into that as much as you want. You can believe it if you like or not believe it. That's up to you. But there's a good example of what we're talking about when we're talking about mind control. It's the grandest game of all strategies for the Jezebel narcissist. I don't know. I don't want to have my mind controlled. And sometimes I'll resist. My wife might suggest, oh, look, this, you might like this to eat, if we go to a restaurant. I might think, she wants me to eat that, well, I'm going to eat something else. You know, I'm not going to be told what to eat, you know, and so we'll play that little game, you know, and she'll go, oops, I guess I shouldn't have suggested that, and I know she's playing a little game with me, so we have that fun. Do you know what the Jezebel narcissist expects of you after an attack? So what happens when I hate you, you're terrible, you're awful, you're the worst person in the whole wide world, you're this way, you're that way, I don't know why I bothered with you, and this. When those attacks come out of the blue, unexpected, and you didn't even do anything wrong to deserve it, what do? Oh, I guess I better not say that again, or I better not do that again. You've just had your mind controlled. You know, it might be a small, subtle thing, but over time it builds up, and over time it impacts you, it affects you. How do you avoid another assault of false accusations and put-downs? Now your mind is being controlled because you're thinking ahead. You're anticipating, what is he or she saying to me? He controls your mind when he reduces your ability to think critically and independently. That's not good. No one wants that. No one likes to feel controlled in any way. And some people are more dependent than others, and they kind of like a certain amount of control. But then there's that fine line where it goes beyond that, and that's not good. Well, what are the empowering truths about all this? In Jesus Christ the Messiah, my victory over the enemy's attempted control over my soul is forever sealed by God through Christ Jesus. My victory is already sealed. I'm already on God's side, protected by Him. Now I have to make right choices in my life in order to live a happier life, a more comfortable life, a more peaceful life, and so on. If I make good choices, great, you know, and sometimes I make good choices and bad things still happen, but now because I have the peace of God in me, I'm able to get through that or endure that and problem solve it better in order to get to the other side, where there's more peace over there than there is over here, where all this conflict is going on. In Jesus Christ the Messiah, I'm being transformed as I mature spiritually, focusing on godly values and ethical attitudes. If I think right, I'm more likely to do right. I'm more likely, therefore, to be right. If I think wrong, I'm more likely to do wrong, therefore I'm more likely to be wrong. And wow, you know, I mean, it's a cycle. It keeps repeating itself. The think, feel, do cycle. You know, you think good thoughts, you feel good, you do good things, and more than likely a good event is going to follow all of that. And you have a good think, feel, do cycle. But you think bad thoughts, a bad event occurs, and your thinking is bad and your feeling is bad, you're more than likely to make a bad move, and therefore more than likely the next event is going to be a bad event. Now you got a negative cycle going on. That's what the narcissist, the Jezebel narcissist, counts on. They count on making you think poorly, making you make those mistakes, making you have trouble problem solving, so you can't push back, you can't come against them, and therefore you feel bad, you feel terrible, and you cooperate, you go along with, so you end up avoiding the conflict at all costs for the future, and you end up being a doormat, a wounded doormat very often, which only causes the next negative event to repeat itself. In the scripture, in Matthew chapter 4, there's this famous scripture about Jesus and the temptations, and I looked at that and I thought, you know, that's a good example of what goes on here with the Jezebel narcissist and the victim. Yeah, the one who is being mind-controlled, the one who is being brainwashed a little at a time over the years. And in this passage, as I was reading it, I thought, this gives us an indication of what to do about it. It says, and the tempter came and said to him, saying to Jesus, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. Now, he didn't just say that at the beginning when Jesus went up into the desert. Jesus had been eating, he's fine, he's not easily tempted at that point. So why would Satan try to tempt him then? He had to wear him down. And so he let him get worn down, and on that 40th, 30th, 40th day or so, where Jesus was in a lot of pain and starvation, that's when the temptation comes, when he was most vulnerable for it. And then the attack came from the tempter. That's when the Jezebel narcissist knows he's got you, when he sees that you've been seduced into whatever it is he's seducing you into. Comfort, safety, security, significance. Now he tries to take it away, or he tries to tempt you with whatever. But Jesus replied, it's written and forever remains written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that comes out of the mouth of God. Now that's a representation of not just food, but a representation of something material. Satan can only tempt you, the enemy can only tempt you through those things that are material, through those things that are manipulative, that are lies, that are untruths. God has the truths, so you look to the truth for the resolution to whatever it is. How do I know someone is trying to control my mind or brainwash me? Well, they're deceiving me. They're giving me false information. They're promising me things that they can't keep, or things that they're going to take away so they have more control over me. And I realize that, oh, well, that's not truth. I need to go to the source of truth, the reality. What's the reality? Then Jesus said to him, go away, Satan, for it's written and forever remains written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Then the devil left him, and the angels came and ministered to him, bringing him food and serving him. Go away, Satan. Go away, Jezebel. Go away, narcissist. I'm not believing those lies anymore. I'm not letting you tempt me or seduce me or trouble me anymore. This isn't reality. This isn't love. This isn't relationship. Why should I fall for it each time? I'm getting smarter. I'm getting better because I've filled myself up with those spiritual truths, with those things that I know are true from God. I know they're true because every one of God's promises have come true up to our day and time. There's thousands of them. Very detailed, many of them are very detailed promises, and they've all come true up to our day and time. The narcissists and the Jezebels of the world don't want you to believe that, so they don't talk about it, they don't let you see it, but it's true. It's a fact. It's found in history books, it's found in archaeology, it's found in modern day news and information, but it's blinded over. No, that's not, let's not look at that. It's true. And if it's true, then you use truth to stand up against harm, to stand up against deception, those lies. And the lies have a hard time coming against truth, so it makes those people using the lies angrier, and their lies become much more extravagant, much more inflated as a result of it. And you can see that in a so-called relationship between the Jezebel narcissist and their victim or their partner, whoever it might be, where they become so angry and so upset, and their comments are so much more exaggerated in trying to brainwash or control that individual, because they can't come against the truth. They know that, and it's so upsetting to them. That's all Jesus did. He didn't yell at them. He didn't call them names. He just spoke the truth. God says, I believe it. Go away. I'm not following this line. I'm not going along with your deception. It can be as simple as that. And of course, we know in life things aren't as simple as we like to think they are, but we work hard at them. We're going to continue in this subject to talk some more about this, but recognize that if you're dealing with someone who you feel is brainwashing you, is using mind control over you, if you feel you can't think for yourself, you can't do for yourself, there's something wrong there, and begin to build yourself up with truth. What's the facts? What's the truth about you, about your reality, about what's going on, in order to be able to build yourself up so you can plant your feet and problem solve whatever's going on. I hope you got something out of this today. If you did, please press that like button. Push the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. That way you'll get notified each time something new comes out. I want you to understand that at New Horizons Institute of Counseling, we're for healing, peace, and harmony. We want you to have that healing peace, just as Jesus had that healing peace as he was dealing with the enemy. You can have healing peace as you're dealing with your enemies. God bless, and we'll talk to you next time.